Hi, I'm Nan Montgomery, SNAP Education Assistant here in Warren County with the Nutrition Education Program. And today we are going to talk about pantry hacks. So maybe you're a seasonal baker and it's been the holidays since you have baked, or maybe you bake all the time. These are going to be some pantry hacks and some science experiments that you can do on baking powder, baking soda, and yeast to see if they are still active. Because it's very important, since baking is a science, that those ingredients remain fresh when you get ready to bake with them. So the first item that we are going to test is our baking soda. So for baking soda, I just like to take 1 tablespoon and I'm going to take white distilled vinegar. And if it's still good, it's going to have a bubbling reaction, like a lot of bubbles. So we shall see. And you can see, hopefully you can see and hear the bubbling and the foam that it's making. That means that our baking soda is still good. Next, we are going to test our yeast. So for our yeast, we are going to need a teaspoon of sugar. And I've already poured my yeast packet in there. So I'm going to add my teaspoon of sugar. And then you are going to want to use hot water. So I have got my hot water over here, and you want to use 1/4 cup of hot water, I might add. So I'm going to scoop out my hot water, and you want the same reaction. You want it to boil, or not boil, but you want it to be really bubbly. So with this science experiment, I can see that my yeast, it didn't bubble and didn't do a whole lot. So that means if I was getting ready to make rolls, I would need to go to the store and buy new yeast, because my yeast is not bubbling and having that same reaction. So this means this yeast is old and I would need to go to the store and buy some more. And then the next, we have our baking powder. And so what we're going to do with our baking powder is we just want to make sure that our water is brought to a boil. You don't have to have a specific amount of water. And we are going to test out our baking powder. And you can see once again that my baking powder is good, because it is having that bubbly and that foaming reaction. The next test that we are going to do, or not really a test, but a little pantry hack that we are going to do, is going to be cutting up your apple. So we're just going to take an apple, and I know that my daughter doesn't like to eat the apples, even though there's nothing wrong. If I've cut up an apple and it's the next day and they have those brown spots on them, she just won't eat it because she doesn't like it. She calls them dirty apples, even though there's nothing wrong with it. So to keep your apples from browning, or any other fruit that might brown, a good way to do it is just take some lemon, and then you are going to add about 1 tablespoon of it, and you are going to coat your apples, kind of mix them up, and this is going to help them from browning in a recipe. Or maybe you have a child like me who won't eat their apples. If they have brown spots on it, then this will keep them good for the next day for you to eat. Then you can simply turn this, if you don't want to eat these, you can simply turn this into a puree. So 1 stick of butter can add about 400 calories to your recipe. So a really good way to substitute would be to use purees instead of fats. So fruit purees work by performing the same functions that fat does in baking, by adding flavor and moisture. You can replace all the shortening and butter in a recipe with half as much fruit or vegetable puree. Or you can replace the oil in a recipe with 3/4 the amount of preferred puree. And so some good purees are going to be like apples or bananas. If you have any questions about these hacks, please call the Warren County Extension Office at 270-842-1681.